Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Good afternoon. I decided to just hop on here and do a quick little video before I shower, so I'm probably gonna film another one after this in completely different makeup. But I wanted to get a palette potential video done with another palette because so far I've only filmed one, and this is a palette formula that is giving me a little bit of trouble, so I'm gonna switch things up on how I do my makeup, which really isn't something I like to do, but I'm gonna try it and see if it works. But if you haven't been here before, my name is Haley. Somewhere on the screen will be my socials, and this video is pretty much everything makeup. I talk about palettes, I talk about color stories, I'm gonna get more into new releases and more collection type videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, please subscribe. I also do nerdy fantasy kind of related topics as well. I do have a gaming channel. I will list that down below. But yeah, it's a good time. I'm weird, you're weird, and we could be weird friends. So I suggest you subscribe. It's a good time. The palette that I'm going to be playing with today is a new palette to me. And I've already played with the blue and green one. This matte formula is not something I'm used to. It's a little thinner. It's pigmented, but it's thin. And when I was using the blue and green one, it wasn't wanting to layer. So what I'm going to do today is use concealer and powder it instead of using my Milani eye primer and seeing if maybe that works better. So if you haven't been here before, I'm starting this new series that will go until the end of the year where I film a palette potential inspired by another YouTuber called Madeleine. I'll eventually get her name right, but they do it where they do a whole bunch of different looks, like how many different looks you can get with this palette, and it's usually multiple videos. This is just one video for me to do a different look on each eye, get a grasp on whether or not I feel like it is unique or has a place in my collection, if I like the formula, if I'm in love with using it, so on and so forth. And then there'll be kind of a palette reckoning at the end of the year after I have filmed with all of my palettes. So this palette is up today, and I'm really interested to try this concealer and powder method because I don't do this. I know a lot of people use concealer and powder on their lids. I am not one of them, and I don't know. It's just not my preferred method of priming my eyelids. So I'm not going to be doing any more of a face today, well, in this particular look, because I am going to go take a shower and then promptly do my makeup again for you. I am going to get my bangs out of the way so you guys can see a little bit better. So hopefully you guys can see if there's any issues with the blend. I look insane putting this on the internet looking like this for you guys. And I'm gonna try and not use like a whole lot. Ooh, that might have been too much already. Do you guys have any tips for using concealer and powder on your lids as primer? Because I just typically don't, because I find that my eyelids are just so delicate that it always looks so heavy. So that is my eyelids primed and powdered, and I'm just gonna jump in. I'm thinking one eye I'm gonna do, because there's like 3 different color stories. There's like the blue greens, there's the reds, and then there's the neutrals. And the blue greens is what is in the other palette that I was struggling with. So maybe I will wait to play with those colors until I do the other affinity palette video. So we'll just do the reds and then the neutrals is what we're going to be doing today. That sounds like a good idea, Haley. So a usual way for me to use my eyeshadow would be to use this dense flat packer brush from BH, and I'm gonna go in with Enchant first, and I'm gonna pack that all over my lid, one of them, and this is gonna be my neutral eye. Okay, so far this pigmentation and just the way it's laying down is crazy different to how the blue-green palette was performing for me. Ideally, I wouldn't want to have to prep my eyes differently because I don't use my palettes in a singular way. I use it mix-matchy. I treat my palettes like singles. So I just pull different shades from whatever palette I want that I feel like that shade would work well in the look that I was doing. So on the regular, I use my Milani primer, and if these two palettes aren't gonna work well with that, then I don't feel like I can dip into them when I'm doing my regular looks. So that might be an issue, but already it's performing, you know, leaps and bounds ahead of what I was experiencing. I'm gonna take Brew with the same brush, and I'm going to go on the outside edges. There's a cat hair on my brush, there we go. On the outside edges, just like that, and start blending out. And this is typically how I will do a smoky eye, is start with the lid and ombre build out. Okay, we're looking good. And then still same brush, just wiping it off. We're gonna go into Alchemy. And it could just be that blue shade or those shades that I used in that palette, and that were that formula because of how deep they were. They were like almost black. They were like very indigo, inky, black, blue mattes. I don't think I have anything that dark in my collection that I can compare it to performative wise. So the fact that it was just not layering was not fun for me. Okay, so you can already see that the pigmentation and the layering is vastly different than like before when I was using the shades in the other palette. There was a lot of bald spots, shadow was lifting, it wasn't blending on top of each other. So the true test will be using this palette again with my Milani eyeshadow primer and seeing if there's a difference between palettes or if it is a difference between eyelid prep. So I'm going to take Tonic. I should show you what it is. It's a satiny gold shade on the same brush, and blend like right over the top. Why did I decide to do this? I don't know. It's not typically something that I do, but I thought it could work. And I'm just going over the ombre and over where the last matte shadow ended up into my non-existent brows that need to be plucked. I will say that the shimmers in this are a very different formula to the shimmers in the blue-green palette that I have. I should, show you if you guys don't know, if you haven't seen my haul video, instead of just saying the blue-green palette. Same brand, different palette. I was using this shade. Jazz. So you can just see how deep and blue that is. And pigmentation looks good, but it wasn't vibing on my lids. I hadn't dipped into any of the greens, but these shimmers are just a lot thinner and have a lot more sparkle than these do. These are a lot more satin, have more base pigment to them, and they're not as unique of colors. This is just a soft gold, this is just a light pink, and then this is just a silver. They're thin and they have some like a light sheen to them, but they're not anything special like the other shimmers in the other palette. So that is one eye done, and I'm going to the other now and do a red pink eye. I'm gonna start with Remedy. I went like this, like there's a mirror here, but there isn't. And I'm going to place that. I've switched brushes. This is now a AOA. Oh, did I say that this was a BH brush? It's an AOA brush. They're both AOA brushes. But it's like a pointed dome. And I'm going to make like a V shape on the outside of my lid, like that. And then just start to drag ever so slightly like that. I'd say this is coming off a little more pink on the eye than in the pan. It looks a little more purple, but it's really a minute difference that I'm noticing. Okay, I feel like that is good. I'm wiping that off, and I'm going to go into Psychic. Same brush. Okay, this one is feeling almost similar to the blues. And I'm going to, yeah, okay. So this might be an issue. This is coming off way pink. I'm just following the inside of my socket down like that. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see the difference on camera. So this is the shade I went in with, and you can see it's a deep kind of, well, it's more like a mid-toned red, and on the eye it's definitely coming off a lot more pink than it looks in the pan. And I thought it was gonna be darker just based off of the pan. It's not really building, like it's staying true to the color that I laid down, and it's becoming more opaque, but it's not building to become deeper, which is unfortunate. I am going to take a blending brush, another AOA, and go into, let's do Firestorm. It's a really bright neon orange red, and I'm gonna blend out the front and see how bright I can get it. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. Let's see how far I can bring you in. What I have done, I started with Remedy on the outer corner, and then I went into Psychic in this area. Went to blend it with Firestorm, and then about the rest of the way on this half of the eye look, I took Paranormal and blended up here over Remedy, which was that purple. And I don't know, the blend just isn't looking correct. I would say that Firestorm and Paranormal, when they're blended, look almost identical on the lid. I was expecting Firestorm to take over, but in reality, these two kind of blended into each other and they look almost the same on my lid. I tried to go in with a little more Remedy to blend up into the top because I was losing that depth, and it's not looking the way I think it should look. So I'm just taking more Remedy because I'm just taking more of that purple and I'm trying to go over the top, and it's not layering in the way that I want it to layer. So I don't know. Let's go in with a clean brush and just blend and see what happens. This is another AOA and it's clean. I'm just taking it and seeing what happens. You know what this is making me want to do? It's making me want to reach into another palette. This eye in particular. I am gonna do that just so I can see how the blend will work, because this is how I would use my palettes regularly. So the palette I'm thinking of in particular is my LA Girl Pro Mastery, and dipping into one of these cream shades and blending out with that to see how that helps, because this shade doesn't have a lot of pigment to it, but it does help blend out whatever I'm struggling with. Okay, I'm going into the shimmer shades to see how this is a satiny kind of shimmer shade. Okay, that didn't give me anything. Magician, let's go. That's so much better. Okay. Nothing a little bit of shimmer can't fix. I will say I like the color. The color that it is right now, very bright, very vibrant, and I think it has to do with the mix of Firestorm and Remedy, because it looks like a fuchsia kind of color. Like it took Remedy and made it neon, if that makes sense. That's how I feel like my eye looks. Do I like the blend? No. Did I try and put too many like same toned reds on my eye look, expecting them to look different? Yeah, I did. Was that an issue on my part? Maybe. I'm not making a defense of this palette. Obviously, it works in some capacity. I haven't tried these jewel tone shades, and I'm a little hesitant / nervous, but I will definitely be trying those with my regular Milani eyeshadow primer, because these down here will be the test as to whether or not this is an actual formula that I feel like I can use effectively in my collection with other palettes. Because if these can perform with my Milani eyeshadow primer, then I feel like it's definitely going to be a learning curve, but workable, where if they weren't able to work with my Milani eyeshadow primer, that I would feel very boxed in as far as options to use this palette. Because like I said, I treat my palettes as singles, and if I'm using my regular primer, I'm not going to be reaching for something that doesn't work with it. And having two palettes that don't work with that primer, what's the point? So the concealer definitely helped from a standpoint of me have already trying this formula, but different colors, a different palette. You know, I know these are kind of old news, but this brand, this layout, it's always been on my wish list, and now that I have them, do I regret them? No, but can I say that I recommend this formula to beginners or my friends? Probably not. So that's just my experience with this so far. I really like this eye. It's a really nice kind of burgundy brown smoky eye. This is very much up my alley, a very typical eye look that I do, and it performed really well on this eye. This eye, I like the color. I went a little over ambitious with the layering, but because in honest reality, I probably wouldn't layer like this. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt as you will. I do like the end look, however, with the sparkle. So those are the two looks. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you guys have any video recommendations that you'd like to see me do, please comment them down below. Let me know which eye you like the best. If you have had an experience with this formula, what you think of it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!